be okay.
Oh, we're live.
Yay! We're
We're
live.
live.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. So many.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to our teacher development webinar. It's so great to see all of you joining us. Thank you. So nice to see so many familiar faces, virtual faces.
Names? Names, familiar names.
We are really happy to welcome all of you here. Hello. Good morning for someone, maybe
Yes.
good evening for
Good
others.
evening, good afternoon, good morning, all of the hellos.
Anytime you're joining us, we very appreciate it, and we're really happy to see you today. And today, the topic of our webinar is actually inside your student's mind, and this is the first part of our small two-part series about children psychology and cognitive development. The second part will actually cover some other topics like different from today's topics, and it will also be on cognitive development, and it will take place in 1 week on Wednesday, November 1st. So make sure to join us next week as well. We are very happy to see you multiple times, a month, and we will
Yes.
talk about more things then. So let's start with our speakers, and I will introduce myself first. My name is Anna. I'm a teacher development manager here at Novakid, and I have been teaching English for about 5 years now, I think, and I have also studied theory of teaching foreign languages at university, which is surprisingly useful for today's webinar, and I actually used some notes from my studies while preparing for this webinar, and who could have thought? That's really surprising. And I also would like you to welcome our fabulous Tegan, who is a Novakid teacher, and she's from sunny South Africa. She has an honors degree in occupational therapy, and she is actually running a private pediatric school-based practice. She has also obtained TEFL certificate and has been tutoring both online and offline since 2017. And Tegan has been with us with Novakid since 2020, and we are very lucky to have her. Hello, Tegan.
Hello. So good to be with you all. I also went back to some of my university textbooks to prepare for this webinar. So Anna and I are very excited to share it with you.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we're ready to delve into the webinar itself, and we will start with a very short quiz. Please do not hesitate to type your answers in the chat box. And the first question would be, what kind of difficulties do you face when you teach or face in your classroom very young learners? These could be students who are 4 to 7 years old. Please let us know what types of
The
difficulties.
first answer, short attention span.
Yeah, short attention span, absolutely.
We are
Tantrums,
definitely speaking about that today.
yes, absolutely. Very good. Tend to be shy, very nice. Language barrier, Beverly, thank you. Susan, sorry, there are so many answers, I cannot really capture them.
Yeah.
I'll try to use them more. Bruce, crying all the way 25 minutes. Yeah, that's tough. That's definitely tough.
Yeah.
Their moms are interfering. Yes, Mary, that happens sometimes. So parents' interference is a big deal with very young learners. Extremely playful. Oh, Rochelle, thank you. This is a very nice. Playfulness is a good thing, but when it's too much, when it's too extreme, it might be very challenging. Yeah, can only parrot at this age. Stephen, thank you. Hello, Stephen, by the way, and thank you for that. That's very good point, because sometimes you try to elicit more and you see that the students, very young students, just repeat after you. Okay, thank you for your awesome suggestions. Let's move on to the next question. Let's now think about a bit of older students. So what do you think are the challenges when teaching older kids? Let's say 7 to 12 years old. Yeah, Lauren, hi. Yeah, they can be tricky. Yeah, they can be really tricky. And boredom. Marcia, thank you so much. Pinky, moody, lack of interest. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm really sorry in advance if I pronounce any names incorrectly. I will try my best, but the chat is crazy. It's like tick, 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 and it's difficult. Erica, they are too serious. That's a good one compared to young.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Wants to play and do other things. Yeah, sometimes they don't really want to study. Maybe it's normal for them. They are ones who teach. The teacher, Bruce, that's a very deep thought. That's a very good thought, actually. They might try to seem older than they are, and sometimes it can be also very challenging. They tend to go off topic. Thank you, Jaylee. That's true. Yes, pretend to mime the answers. Natasha, that's a good one. Multitasking. Ooh, teacher Catherine mentioned
Yeah.
an important point, especially about students who are teenagers and who tend to be maybe too occupied with their social media and social networks. They find it very difficult to concentrate. Guys, you're amazing. You're so engaged. I'm very excited to I would love to read more options, but let's move on because we have lots of things for today. Thank you for all of your answers. They are brilliant, and we will try our best to explain most of the points that were mentioned today by some theories, some issues that are basically might be raised when we talk about different ages of students and their developmental stages. Please don't forget to continue participating actively. You're actually doing really great with that. And your active participation, as usually, will be rewarded. And don't forget to fill out the post-webinar feedback form. That's very important because if you fill it in, you will receive a certificate of participation. So please remember about that. But yeah, without further ado, I think we can move on to our agenda. And Tegan, could you please help me with that?
Okay, sure. So for part one of this webinar, we are going to discuss what cognitive development is. We will take a look into some of the theories on cognitive development. We will then dive into some cognitive skills that are needed for learning, including concentration, memory, and fine motor skills. We will finish, like we always do, with a Q&A. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat box, and our lovely moderator, Lisa, will collect them for us to answer at the end. And our part two, which will happen next week, we look forward to a recap on what we will discuss tonight. And then we will look at some more cognitive skills that are needed for learning, which will include visual skills, language and communication, personality development, and finally, an exciting quiz and contest, which will then be followed by another Q&A. So please be sure to join us for part two as well. So let's kick things off and have a quick look at a quiz. Can you answer this in the chat box? What is cognitive development? So is it A, the ability to learn how to read, B, the process by which human beings acquire, organize, and learn to use knowledge, or C, the growth of the cogs in the brain? So you can answer in the chat box, or Lisa has put up a poll, and we're going to see which gets the most votes, A, B, or C.
I answered. I feel terrible.
I
had to.
All right, 42 votes. That's quite a good. I wonder what everyone is going to get. Okay, we've got some answers in the chat box too. Someone saying B, Roxanne, Suzanne, most Bs. Okay, so we have got our winner. Yes, the answer is B. 92% of you answered it correctly. So cognitive development is the process by which we acquire, organize, and then learn to use the knowledge. So why are we learning about this today? Well, understanding cognitive development is fundamental as it provides insights into how children learn, problem solve, and make sense of the world around them. So let's dive into some fascinating facts about the human brain. Did you know that when a child is born, their brain is 25% the weight of an adult brain? By the age of 2 years, their brain is 75% the weight of an adult brain. That means 75% of their brain growth occurs at a very early age. So it is a known fact that children's brains are very malleable. Did you know that children under the age of 3 can develop as many as 1 million neural connections each second? Because children's brains are so malleable, it is vital that children are exposed to a variety of experiences that promote their cognitive, physical, social, language, and emotional development. This is why early stimulation and early childhood education are so important. It must be noted, however, that cognitive development is not limited to childhood and continues throughout adulthood, with the potential for learning, adaptation, and improvement in cognitive ability, even into older age, just like we are all doing right now by learning and taking in this new information. But how do children develop?
And that's actually a very good question. And you know that many psychologists have been trying to answer this question. Today, we're going to look through a couple of theories, most fundamental one associated with cognitive development. The first one would be actually the developmental theory, which was created by Jean Piaget. He distinguishes 4 stages that the kid go through while growing up. The first stage includes infants or kids up to 2 years old. Such kids try and learn to understand the world through senses and actions. They do it by touching, seeing, hearing, or smelling, or tasting. And that's interesting that they do not even understand that the object exists if it's out of their sight. So they can only perceive the world through their senses. If we think about the second stage by Piaget, we will see kids who are from 2 to 7 years old, and they already start to develop the ability to understand the world through language and different mental images. Their thinking is still very egocentric, so they can't really comprehend the object or the view from another perspective, another person's perspective. They still struggle a bit with logical reasoning, with logical conclusions, but they actually are very eager to learn through play. They are also very eager to imitate adults' speech, adults' behavior, and learn by that. If we talk about the next stage, we see the kid who is probably about 7 to 12 years old, and they already learn how to apply logical thinking to their comprehension of the world. They also learn how to look at the situation from multiple views, and they can consider multiple aspects of any kind of object they know. They attempt problem solving, and communication is very important to them. They start to communicate with their peers a lot. But abstract thinking or some hypothetical situations might still be very challenging for them. And the last stage that Piaget mentions is formal operational stage, which includes kids or teenagers who are 12 years old and older. Such kids are already able to comprehend some abstract concepts. They can think hypothetically, and they can actually consider multiple possibilities and different viewpoints. It's much more, they have a broader understanding and perception of the world. They also are already able and supposed to be able to organize and control their personal actions. And thinking about these different stages, I have a question to you, teachers. How do you, for instance, manage to engage your young learners? Let's say kids who are 3 to 7 years old. We don't really work with infants, thanks God, but the ones who are on pre-operational stage maybe. How do you engage them based on their developmental stage? You can find some tips in this scheme. You can find some little things that can help you answer. Props, games, yes, Susan, thank you. Props, Christine, showing pictures, brilliant. Images are mwah, for them, absolutely right. Toys and props, Roxanne, thank you. Using TPR, Adri, using TPR, props, very good. Deborah, TPR, brilliant. Gerald, always involve movement, very good one. Kids love learning through play, movement. Stephen, voice variations, awesome. Songs, Tin says songs, very nice, thank you. Voice change, Deborah, that's a good option. Singing songs. Guys, you're awesome. You're brilliant. Thank you so much. Let's think about the next stage, concrete operational. How would you engage the kids, your students who are from 7 to 12 years old? These are, for my fellow Novakid teachers, these are maybe kids who are at level 2, level 3, right? How do you engage them? What do you do to engage them? Tigan, how do you engage your students who are 7 to 12?
So if we're going back on the developmental theory, we can start to use some real life situations, and free talk is a great way that we can use that.
Sounds awesome, exactly. Libraco, I don't know how to pronounce it, says asking about their favorites. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Situations, yeah, relating to them. Games, CCQs, yes, very good. Gerald, ask their opinion of things. Brilliant. Teacher Catherine, art of questioning. I love the wording. That's a very good one. Corinne, tic-tac-toe. Yeah, such kids love playing games still, but they can try and play probably a bit more complicated games that kids who are like very young learners, right? Depending on your comprehension level. Oh, Jaylee, awesome. You look very deeply into our topic today, depending on their comprehension level. That's very good. You always know your students better when you teach them, so you have to adapt. Very nice. Guys, thank you. You're brilliant. Let's ask the last question. How do you engage your teenagers or teenage students? The ones who can already think about hypothetical things, who are already very much, who have their opinion already probably. What do you do in the classroom with them? Engaging and meaningful questions. Yeah, this is about the preteens, but I think it will work with teenagers too. Very good. Ask about their interests. Jocelyn, ask about their experiences. Wonderful. Deborah, challenge them more. Oh, Gerald, ask them whys and hows. Awesome. Very good one. Pinky, have conversation. Very good. Caitlin, speak about topics they are interested in. Brilliant. Alistair, experience and needs. Yes. Daily life events. Josephine, thank you so much. Asking about their day and ideas. Roxanne, that's a good one. Pinky, treat them like they are mature. That's a very good one. That's a very good point. I feel like many teenagers feel that they need it, that they want to seem, older. Ask them to explain the topic, especially for students with good memory, so who can expand their thoughts well. Very good. Thank you, guys. You are brilliant. And because of this theory, we can actually see why we teach certain topics or apply certain techniques depending on the age of the student. For instance, if we take conditionals, which are for higher level students, definitely, we understand that because younger students, young learners cannot still understand or comprehend hypothetical situation, it's very difficult to teach them a concept of conditional sentence. If you see the young learner who is at higher level because they are very fluent, but they are still very, very young for such topics, it's okay, but you need to adapt the material because you shouldn't really expect much of them. They are still simply not able to comprehend such topics. And that's exactly, lots of you mentioned, that's exactly why the activities and tasks need to be appropriate to the age of the student and also to their developmental level. All right, thank you. We're moving on to the next theory, which was created by Lev Vygotsky. And he mentions and puts a big emphasis on social and cultural aspects in learning. He claims that social interaction and collaboration are crucial for successful learning. generally. Vygotsky also distinguishes elementary and higher mental functions, these two types of mental functions of kids. And he claims that if we talk about elementary functions, let me briefly draw your attention to this one as a teacher. So elementary mental functions are the ones which are very similar to the abilities which are characteristic for very young, very young children mentioned in Piaget's theory. So these are, again, things appreciated, learned through different senses like attention, perception, sensation, memory. These are basically unlearned but inborn characteristics of the mental skills of the kid. Higher functions are, on the other hand, something which can be learned and should be learned by a kid. So these includes language, thinking, paying attention, etc. Why do we have attention in both of these categories? Well, it's quite easy to understand because this is about different kinds of attention. For instance, let's take a random 3-year-old kid who has an inborn elementary function, which is a reactive attention. So, for instance, they pay attention to things which draw their attention actively, like a loud noise, for instance, or a very bright image. They switch between these I don't know, things which capture their attention actively. But an older kid who already has their higher mental function developed, they can pay attention. So they can deliberately focus their attention on things that they need to focus on. For example, during their classes at school, they can focus on the material and the teacher. That's exactly why when working with some very young learners, you face lots of distraction, lots of switch in their focus, because they are just on this developmental stage. They are not able to pay attention yet. They just pay attention to something which draws their attention very actively. And if we think about this, we can also discuss the zone of proximal development theory by Vygotsky. And this is a very important theory in language learning. So basically, this is a zone which is located between things that kids can do independently. So they basically can they already know that, and also things that they are not able to do at all. Zone of proximal development is connected very much with the teacher or the adult or the experienced person who guides the student. So if we look at this whole scheme, let's just discuss the pictures. So let's say there is a student, a very young learner, who can recognize and produce some random sounds independently. So they know sounds like k, a, t. With help of the teacher, you, by the way, you do it quite a lot, they can blend these sounds together to create a word, cat. It means that this task is in their zone of proximal development. They are quite able to do that. But if you try and take all of your flashcards of all the letters in the world and try to make them say the word catastrophic or remember the word catastrophic or explain the word catastrophic, it will be impossible because this is way out of their potential and way out of their zone of proximal development. And this giving kids such tasks will only demotivate them because they will obviously fail at it and they will feel unmotivated in their further learning process. That's why, again, it's very, very important to adjust the material and level of the student so that they are able to have a challenge which they can take and complete. And if we talk about language learning, we have a very special term which we use to talk about this teacher's guidance and prompts. We use this term, that's one word, and I'm actually asking you to try and give your suggestions in the chat box. We use this term because we are building the house of students' knowledge, of students' skills. And by using this technique, we kind of helping them to build this building. Sorry for this weird phrasing. What's the word? What's the word for these prompts?
We've got a winner.
The winner, Stephen, you are just brilliant. That's called scaffolding. Nobody had a chance because Stephen was here. Scaffolding, exactly. That's what we use to basically help our kids. We help them throughout their process, their learning process, and we help them build the skills. Can you actually give examples of some scaffolding techniques that you use with your students? This can be any students, any level, any activity. For instance, Tigan, how do you use scaffolding in your occupational therapy? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, it actually forms a good basis on pretty much everything we do, because you're going to try and find the what we call the just right challenge for the child. And for example, if a child isn't able to thread a bead onto a string, you will give them hand-over-hand assistance until they're able to do it on their own, and then you'll slowly take away some of the help that you're giving them until they're finally able to do it independently. And you scaffold the task.
Brilliant.
So we've got some good answers in the chat box.
Yeah, we also have some.
Give them a full model, have them slowly do more of the model by themselves. Nice, Lauren.
Very good. Modeling, prompting, brilliant suggestions. Breaking everything into small tasks, Zaruhu, yeah, that's a very good way. In English or any language teaching especially. Using cues, encourage questions, very good. Yeah, depending on the level, very nice. Lauren says use lots of TPR to build a sentence and then slowly use less TPR. Yes, brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you. That's amazing. Modeling prior knowledge. Sarah, thank you. Yeah, using their prior knowledge to maybe build on it. Models first and small parts. Saying the first to second words and let the student finish the sentence. Corinne, that's a great suggestion. Exactly. Guys, you are brilliant. And thank you. Lauren's comment was very, very to the point, because that's very, very important to remember that you can use a bit of less support whenever you see that the child is progressing, because the task should always be not too easy and not too difficult, so they can actually evolve and learn something new. So these were some really fundamental theories. I'm sorry if they sound a bit too scientific, but it's actually something which explains a lot. And you as teachers actually do all these things connected to the theories every day here. And you literally help your students evolve and build their foundation and build their building of their skills and knowledge. And you actually take a part in their cognitive development. That's crazy. That's very cool. And now we are going to delve a bit deeper into different cognitive skills, which are very important when it comes to learning. And for this one, I'm giving the floor to Tegan.
Great. Thank you, Anna, for that insight. It was really, really interesting. So please answer this question in the chat box. What does a child need to actually learn? What skills do they need to actually learn? We have given you a few hints in the beginning about our agenda. Communication, Christine. Yes, that's very key. Stephen, memory. Oh, curiosity. I love that one. Jocelyn. Senses. Yes, Gerald. Logical thinking, Erica. Yes. And Susan, attention, definitely. Yes. Okay, cognitive thinking skills, creativity. Sure, I love all these answers. Great answers, guys. And today we are only going to be touching on a few of these cognitive skills that are required for effective learning, such as concentration, memory, and fine motor skills. So let's start with concentration. Concentration is our ability to focus on a particular task. I'm sure you can all agree that it is a vital skill needed for our students to be able to endure our online lessons. So let's talk in the chat box. How long do you think a 4-year-old should be able to concentrate for? How many minutes? Hmm, the shoot at 10 minutes. Okay. Damien said he struggled to concentrate as a kid. Oh, we have a variety of answers. I would say a variety between 10 to 2 minutes. We've got a 15 minutes. Marsha's 20 minutes. Sure, okay. There are a lot of different answers. And this is probably not going to surprise many of you, but very young children have a minimal attention span, and this is developmentally normal. By the age of 4, children should typically be able to sustain concentration for anywhere between 8 to 12 minutes. So if we think about our youngest students, say age 4 on level 0, they are required to concentrate for 25 minutes, whereas developmentally, they are only able to concentrate for 8 to 12 minutes. That's half the length of a lesson at Nova Kids. We therefore need to lower our expectations of these young children and ensure that our lessons are engaging, fun, playful, and encompass ways to help keep their attention. The general rule is that a child's attention span should be between 2 to 3 times their age. So, what are some ways that we can help our young learners to concentrate and stay engaged for the whole 25-minute lesson? I would love to hear your responses in the chat box. Anna, what is your attention span like?
It's not too good, to be honest. I find it difficult to concentrate on work, especially. And I recently went to see Oppenheimer, which is like 3.5 hours. I wanted to say years, but hours, thanks God.
It felt like yours.
Yeah, it felt like years because in the middle I was like, I am not really here anymore. I don't know what's up. But with time, I actually got engaged back. So it was really, really cool.
Ah, so we all can identify with having struggles at some point.
Absolutely.
So we have some answers. We have Lauren, singing and movement breaks. Yeah. Okay, Gerald. Oh, this chat box is moving so quickly. I can barely read the answer before it's jumping already.
I know.
Adri, TPR, games, songs. Mary, rewards and stars. Yes, definitely. And being cheerful, Jean. Yes, definitely. Okay, so those are all great answers, and it is definitely something that's very student dependent, which is why getting to know our students is so important. But some ideas would be movement breaks, such as standing up and jumping 5 times, or doing a star jump, or stretching to the sky and then touching your toes. These can be so helpful to help our young learners. Developmentally, their little bodies have not actually built up the muscles to be able to maintain a static position, such as sitting in front of their tablet or laptop for the whole 25 minutes. And therefore, providing them with movement breaks is a great way to help keep them engaged and focused. We can also sing songs, dance, use props to help make the lesson more engaging. And if all else fails, we can always change the task. So I don't think we can fully talk about concentration without mentioning ADHD. So what is ADHD? It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder that affects children and adults. So let's answer in the chat box. What do you think characterizes ADHD? What are the signs and symptoms? Damien just says ADHD, yes. I'm guessing you can identify.
Yeah.
Okay, teacher Denise says concert for a long time. Yeah. Jocelyn, restlessness. Damien, lack of concentration. Yes, definitely. Giselle easily can get distracted. Yes. Pinky, very busy. Yes. Yeah. Excessive talking, Roxanne. Yes, that can definitely happen. Those are great answers, everyone. And yeah, most of them are on the right track. So It is characterized by persistent patterns of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity that can interfere with daily functioning. I'm seeing a few people shouting impulsivity now, so well done, you're right. ADHD is one of the most common disorders among school-age children, with a prevalence of about 3 to 7%. But not every child who has difficulty concentrating in our lessons has ADHD. So, does anyone have experience teaching children who have struggled to concentrate? Anna, have you had experience
Yes.
teaching children who have struggled to concentrate?
Sure. I struggle to concentrate sometimes. And I have to teach myself sometimes, you know. So yeah.
Yes. Yes, we are getting a lot of yeses. Yep, yes, yes, often.
Answers.
Yes. So I'm sure that probably 99% of us do have some experience with this. And we need to remember that it is important to not diagnose the problem or try and label the child. We can simply identify the difficulties and adapt our lessons accordingly. We can try and focus on captivating their attention within the lesson by doing some of the techniques that we have just chatted about. So there are also many factors that can influence a child's ability to concentrate. As we've discussed, their age plays a very important role on the expectations of how long they should be able to concentrate for. But then, as well as this, motivation plays a role. Children who are being forced into having lessons will more likely struggle to concentrate in the lesson. So that is why it is our job to find what interests them and what engages them in the lesson. Adapting the lesson is key, so keeping the lesson fun, engaging, and individualized can help keep our young learners' attention. So now let's discuss our next cognitive skill needed for learning, memory development. So memory refers to our capacity for conscious retrieval and of names, places, dates, events, and it can come in two types. Episodic memory, which is events and experiences that can be consciously retrieved, and then semantic memory, which refers to our knowledge of rules, language, and basic concepts. So initially, it was thought that children were only able to live in the present and they were unable to perceive the past or the future. This theory has actually been challenged, and it is now thought that children develop the ability to recall past experiences verbally between the ages of 3.5. It is said, however, that preschoolers' memory is still poor as it is still developing. Our memory forms a vital role in learning. So we are going to test our own memory here today. You're going to see some shapes. You are going to try and remember the shapes that you see and the order that you saw them in. Type in the chat box what the correct answer is. Let's go. Okay. Was it A, B, C, or D? C, C, C. Even some people tapping out the shape, tapping out the shapes. Well done. Oh, that was quite easy for everyone. Okay, yeah, the answer was C. Okay, let's try something a little bit more tricky then. Okay, was it A, B, C, or D? I can see Anna trying her best to also figure out which answer it is.
Able. We prepared this together, but I still don't know the answers.
Still don't know. Oh, everyone is saying C. There's one or two B's, but everyone is saying C. Oh, okay. Maybe this is too easy for them. Yes, C was the right answer.
You're
Okay, we're gonna get more challenging. Let's go.
Challenge them a bit more.
Okay. Is it A, B, C, or D? This one's a little bit more tricky. Oh, we've got a variety. A, B, C, A, B, B, A.
Yeah, it's getting interesting.
D, C, A, B.
Now
there are a variety of answers.
Now that's an age-appropriate task, you know. We finally found it.
So Anna, what is the correct answer?
It's A.
It's A. Oh, okay. So good job to all those who answered A. Tricky, wasn't it? So the memory span of a 2-year-old is about 2 items, which was the first practical task that we did. A 5-year-old is about 4 items, which was the next practical task. And a 9-year-old is about 6 items, which was this practical task that we did. So those who answered A correctly, well done. You have the memory span of a 9-year-old. So now let's try something that is a little bit more age appropriate. We are going to show you some foreign symbols to try and remember. So remember they're foreign. Let's go. Is it A, B, C, or D?
Oh, it's getting a bit tricky, right?
Oh, okay. There's a
E.
few A,
What's
D,
happening?
E. There's no E. Uh, B, D, A, D.
Oh, I have no idea,
Oh,
Lauren. I'm with you here. I also have no idea.
I actually don't know the right answer either. It's too small for me to see. I think most people are getting, oh, I don't know, D. Someone said F. No, there's no F and there's no E.
All right.
Okay, I think most people are saying D. Let's see, what's the right answer?
Wait, sorry. It's D.
It
Yay.
was D. Yeah, well done. So how much more tricky was that? Difficult, right? So now let's think about how tricky it is for children to memorize sight words. For example, it's when they only can recognize letter A. Now, those are all completely foreign symbols to them that they are going to have to try and make sense of and remember, just like we've had to try and do. So it makes sense now as to why there's so much repetition in each unit in NovaKid. The vocab is repeated, the grammar structures are repeated, and this is due to the fact that young children possess poor memories and therefore require increased repetition in order to retain or remember the information. That is why when you get an older child, say 7 or 8, who is on level 0, they are able to move a lot faster through the lessons and may find some of the repetitive aspects somewhat tedious as their cognition and their memory abilities are further developed than your 4-year-old. So let's talk about fine motor skills.
Yeah, and we know that fine motor skills are the ability to make movements using the small muscles in our hands, wrists. And before we dive into the topic, let's try to think together. What kind of fine motor skills do we need from our students in an online classroom? Like, what can they apply their skills while having classes with you? Whiteboards. Okay, yeah, exactly. If we talk about some online whiteboards where you can draw something, exactly. They need to be able to use the mouse or touchpad. Stephen, thank you so much. Teacher Denise, drawing, drag and drop, very good one. Mouse operations using exactly drag and drop, D&D, not Dungeons and Dragons, but drag and drop. We have other thing here. I always have this association and I find it funny. Raise their hands, exactly, point, draw a circle, very nice. Yes, you're absolutely right. And fine motor skills in an online classroom and in an offline classroom are very different. For instance, if we talk about online classroom, we will think about something like a pencil grip or maybe just the strength of the hand, etc. But since we all work as online teachers, let's focus on the online classroom fine motor skills. And you're absolutely right. We need a lot of things that are connected to the mouse, to the computer mouse. And that's what some kids might find really difficult. First of all, I think all of us have had such situations when you try during the trial class, you try to engage the students, you try to encourage them to use the mouse, and they get very, very confused because they are supposed to point or circle or click something. This task seems very easy for us adults, but it might be very, very challenging for young learners. And besides that, the mouse is actually quite big for children, actually the average hand size of a 4-year-old is about 12 centimeters, whereas the average size of a mouse is also 12 centimeters. So basically for them, they can just put their hand on the mouse and that's it. It's very difficult for them to manipulate it and maybe click or work with it properly. On top of that, some kids might have never had any experience using the mouse, and it might be a completely foreign task for them. And how can we work around this? Well, we can definitely adapt the tasks, and we can rather encourage them to click or point instead of circling, for instance. For example, if you have the task to circle the doll, instead of asking the student to circle the doll, you can circle the doll yourself and ask, what is that? And you can use the TPR and you can use the prop to elicit the word doll from them. Another option is actually using some gestures and encouraging kids to make some gestures. For instance, they can circle, or they can point to the camera, or they can point to their tablet, whatever works for you. And also, please remember that our NovaKid support team, they try to help the parents and provide them with all the recommendations on how to make the learning environment for their kids and your students the most comfortable. So the children usually come to the classes aware of what is a computer or a mouse. So yeah, that's it. I guess that's it for today. And this session was only part 1 in our 2-part series. I remind you again that next week on Wednesday, the 1st of November, we will have the second part, which will be a totally different, not a totally different, it will be the same topic, but new aspects of this topic webinar. And we will be very happy to see you then. And since we are going to see each other again next week, I really hope so, and Tegan hopes so too, I think, we have a little homework for you. So while teaching your classes during this week, try to observe your students' attention span. Maybe you can find some students whose attention span is unusual. Maybe they are very focused, like too focused for their very young age, or maybe they are very, very unfocused, even though they are supposed to be focused. And try to find and note what causes them to lose their focus or pay extra attention to the class. And also remember about the theories that we talked about and try to correlate the focus and attention span to their developmental stage. And we will be able to share our experience next Wednesday, and we will be very happy to see you and hear your thoughts and your observations. Now we're ready to move to Q&A. We have some time left, and if you have some questions and you haven't asked them yet, please feel free to do it in the chat box. And while you are typing your questions, I would like to share a very great piece of news with you. And if you're interested generally in the topic that we mentioned today and talked about today about child psychology and exploring the mindset of different generations of modern kids, maybe, we have a very interesting project for you to participate in. You probably know that NovaKid team has been working really hard building up this NovaKid Teacher Academy project. And this is an educational program which actually provides an internationally acclaimed and recognized ESL teacher certification. And now, just for you, we have a wonderful offer to check one of the program's courses absolutely for free. The course is basically concerns early childhood in the digital era. And you are invited to check the course and provide us with some feedback. And the best part is that the person who submits the most detailed feedback will be rewarded and also will get a chance to participate in the future testing of the products and will make a huge impact on the product development, and also will try themselves as course assessors, which is a very decent thing to do, I guess. And you can also possibly earn some credits by that. So please, if you're interested, feel free to leave the comments in the corresponding field of the feedback form, which you have. You remember, you have to fill it out after the end of the webinar to get a certificate. And we will definitely come and contact you with all the further details. And thank you so much. Now let's move to our questions. Give me one moment. I will check what kind of questions we have. All right. Let me stop the presentation also. Yeah, checking the questions.
People are asking if Novikid has some training programs. Well, we've just answered that question.
Yeah, training program, you know, we have lots of courses, we have lots of trainings, and also if you would like to learn more about the academy, you can definitely submit your information in the feedback form, and you will get the information from us. I have some questions here. Let me just... Okay. There is one tricky... First of all, there is a question: what happens after the age of 25? I like this one very much. What happens? We are also trying to figure out what is happening with us.
It's downhill from there, I tell you.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, we have a question from Stephen. At what age does a student start understanding why they are doing something? For example, the reason why they add s, es to verbs when using the pronouns it, she, he, not just copying the teacher. That's a very good one.
That's a great question. Oh, I think that's very student dependent because I have some children who are 4 who can understand that, but then I also have some children who are 8 and are only learning that now. And I also think it's something they probably would have learned in their home language and understood easier than a foreign language. So it's very age dependent.
Yeah,
And
I also agree with you, and I think it's also very dependent on their native language, because depends on the grammar system of the language they speak natively and the grammar system of the language they are learning. Because if you take some languages which are very close to each other in terms of grammatical systems, you can make comparison there if it works right. And if the languages are totally different, are from different language families, then it might be difficult for even an adult to understand why. Honestly, being a teacher to adults as well, I sometimes face such situations when my adult students are very, very annoyed by this SES concept, and they're like, can you, why? And I'm like, for real, why? So it really depends on the languages and the students as well. But I believe that when we talk about younger students, at least students at Novakid, mostly, we just usually try to make students remember that they just have to do that. And if they are interested in deeper knowledge, deeper explanation, it's always important to kind of, let them probably do themselves, or just let them refer to something afterwards. Okay, we have some more questions here. By the way, guys, we are gathering all the questions, and we will try to answer and cover them in the next webinar, just in case, because we still have time then to talk about the language and cognitive development. So we will try to consider your questions when preparing, finalizing preparing our...
Finalizing.
Yes, not that we are not ready. We're almost ready. Okay, we have one question from teacher Maski. Why do you believe it's easier and more useful to teach contractions at beginner level, and especially to 4 to 7 years old? That's a good question. Ooh. That's a tricky one. Well,
I would think if we look back on our memory development, it is shorter symbols to remember.
Yeah. Also, it's quite real life, communication applicable, let's say, structures.
Mm,
So again, we're not focusing on the structure, on the grammatical reasoning, on the full form, etc., because that's not something that is used in everyday life situation, right? And in everyday life, you would probably face the contraction more. So that's probably why, again, talking about this developmental stage of relating to something real life, something down to earth, maybe
mm.
would be. And maybe one more question, because we don't really have much time left.
Yeah, I've got a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay, we
I
have.
saw one about dyslexia, which was quite
Yeah,
interesting, but I
okay.
can't find it now.
All right. It's so like it goes along.
It's quite, yeah.
Just, maybe one more question from Libraco. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry again. I want to ask a question about my student who doesn't want to learn the lesson. All she wants is to be a Polish teacher, and I am her student. That's an interesting one. Language exchange program.
I saw that I did see that question and I thought I actually my students love being the teacher, and I think I probably use that tool with most of my young learners where if I'm asking them a question, I then switch it around and say, you ask teacher. But it definitely doesn't take up the whole lesson, and you've got to sort of find a balance between you being the teacher and then the child pretending to be the teacher. It is a
Yeah.
lovely way to help them engage though.
Yeah, and if they would like to teach you their native language, for instance, and they don't want to speak English, I think it's a good way to try and use lots of TPR and use lots of confusion in English. So show them that you don't understand how to say something in English, for example, that you know the student knows. And maybe if they like teaching you so much, maybe they will, try and correct you and teach you in English. So it's also very tricky because you have to find balance. Again, as Tigan, you mentioned that it's important not to spend the whole lesson on that. But maybe trying this might help. Maybe they will feel that they can actually teach you not just like their native language, but also English, and they will feel very happy and accomplished in this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll have lots more time next week to cover a lot of these questions that will probably be answered in our webinar.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we got many questions, and we also I am very, very, very excited about all the participation, guys. Thank you so much. You were brilliant today. It was a pleasure to have this webinar with you and to talk about such I don't know, difficult, maybe
Interesting.
somewhat interesting, tricky
Yeah.
concepts. It was much fun. Thank you so much for coming, and we will be waiting for you next week on Wednesday, the 1st of November, and we will talk a bit more about language and cognitive development of kids. Thank you
See
so
you
much.
then. Same time, same place. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.